Hello everyone, this is Overmind, and welcome back to another StarCraft 2 replay analysis from the Silver League. Let me go ahead and introduce our players. Spawning at the top right side of the map, we have our Protoss player maxbie. And spawning at the bottom left-ish side of the map, we have our Red Terran player Rafassauro, which sounds sort of like a dinosaur. And he's probably just going to be Raf for this cast, because I'm not saying that the entire time. Fortunately, I probably won't have to too much, because we want to focus on maxbie. Maxbie is the submitter of this game. He's been nice enough to submit to me actually several games for this series, so we are going to focus on him and how he can improve his gameplay. Actually, I'm already going to comment that this pylon here and then placing gateways around here is not necessarily ideal, because it's going to prevent you from having a nice concave if anything tries to push on up your ramp. Placing a pylon so that you can build a gateway that partially blocks off the way between your nexus and your geyser, or just in front of that. Not so much that it blocks the probes from mining gas, but just enough so that you can sort of control the space around your mineral line is pretty helpful, especially versus Terran, to keep those Reapers from having those scouting opportunities. Looks like maxbie has his gateway down. He's going to go ahead and scout. This is a little bit late, already at 16. I usually scout when I place my first pylon. And especially versus Terran, because they have a tendency to wall in. Look, he's about to do it here. So really, if maxbie scouts, all he's going to see is this little wall right here. Maxbie is making somewhat of an error in scouting, unless he's trying to make a ninja expansion this early in the game, although I doubt it. This is a 4-spawn map, but on this particular map, if you spawn here, your opponent will spawn here. And if you spawn, say, here, your opponent will spawn here. You will always spawn across. You can usually tell when a map is going to be like this, and it looks like maxbie's probe is a little bit confused. You can tell when a map is going to be like this if the map is asymmetrical. For example, if maxbie spawned here and then his opponent did spawn over here, well, it wouldn't really be fair, because there's some bases that are easier to secure in this position than there are in this position. And you want the map to be as fair as possible if you're Blizzard and you're designing a map. Scout is going to come in to maxbie's base for Raf. Ideally, you do want to deny as much scouting as possible to your opponent so that he doesn't know what's going on. Also, for Terran players especially, not having them know where your pylons are can be great. They can sort of guess where stuff is going to be, but if they decide to do a scan on you and they completely miss, it's the best feeling ever. It's really great. Make them waste that energy, keep them from using those annoying mules. Ugh. Terran players. Cybercore is going to go ahead and be over here, which is fine, I guess. I don't like putting mine that far out of the way, if only because I'm worried that it will get hit by drops, but that's not really a good practice sort of thing. That's just a I don't like it, my preference sort of thing. It's perfectly fine to put it there. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the maxbie cam. That's what I want. Maxbie still hasn't scouted where his opponent is, and that's because if the Terran is walled off, you actually have to run up the ramp to see the buildings. So this probe seems kind of confused. Probably maxbie has figured out that the Terran is over there, but I'm not sure exactly. I did want to cast this game because it was versus a Terran player, and I have casted a game for maxbie where he has played Zerg and where he has played Protoss, so I wanted to see him play versus a Terran player as well. Cannon gonna go down at the front to sort of stabilize things. maxbie doesn't really know what's going on because he hasn't been able to scout too much. Going to have Stalker production out of both gateways and an Observer. I love Observer scouting, they're great. And where's this rallied? Is it all the way across the map like it should be? Yes, alright, so he's figured it out. And he's going to get a look with his observer, which is a good thing to do. Now with this observer, he's going to see a command center, which means an expansion, and I think he sees this. Yes, he sees the drop moving out. Alright, so he knows that a drop is about to happen. He sees a factory with a tech lab, so he knows there's going to be tanks. He sees a reactor on a starport, so probably lots of drop play. He sees no add-on on the barracks. So he knows all this is happening. He knows an expansion is going down. He knows there's going to be a drop. He knows that tanks are a possibility, although it is a little early. Maybe not super early. He does put cannons down in response, at least on this side. Over here, he can't really put too many down. He does put a pylon with a couple cannons here. I do want to talk about cannon placement here. You don't want them necessarily right next to each other like that, because there are many gaps that you can find there. Looks like we did have some Widow Mine production here. This drop going to go in and do a lot of damage. Widow Mines are each going to be able to kill off one Stalker, which is what maxbie has. More units coming up to reinforce. This Immortal being a pretty good unit to have. Don't run away, don't run away. The heal bus is going to go ahead and kill, or rather heal a lot of these units through this, which is going to be a problem. However, one of them is very low. He's trying to kite him into the Widow Mines, and he does. That's going to take out a decent number of Stalkers. He definitely needs to have that Observer back at home. He is making another one, but it's going to run across the map again. Go ahead and attack him, maxbie. You can do it. Oh! See, I think the real problem here is just the Widow Mines. Where did that Observer go? There he is. Observer really needs to be in the main base helping these Stalkers out with his Widow Mines, because that is the problem that maxbie is having here. There is a time delay when they can go off. And here, finally, the Observer comes in to help with this. One Widow Mine is going to escape, and that was a particularly rough drop. There is still a Widow Mine in the base. You want to kill that off before it can shoot again. maxbie! maxbie, kill it off! Oh, timer's up. So that's going to be able to take out at least one more Stalker. If not, run into the Widow mineral line and take out something there, although the cannon should help with that. Cannons should really be spread out a bit more so that they have some more coverage, both here and down here. But that's not going to be too much of a problem. It is going to get taken out eventually. Raf's expanded. He has tanks. He's making things. Supply depots. I know what they're called, you guys, I promise. I'm trying not to focus on him too much. With this Observer, we see factory, 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 starport, barracks with no add-on. So, not a lot of actual units. Probably want to fly around between the two a little bit, but really, Raf doesn't seem to have a lot of things. Worker supply is slightly higher for Raf. Army supply is in favor for Raf. I suppose maxbie doesn't really have a lot of things either. We do have additional stargates coming in, cannons going down along the sides, which should help deter those, although a drop along here would not be too bothered by that. And we have both players just having way, way, way too much money. As a note, we do have a shortage of gas for maxbie. What he really should do is build on this geyser here and put a couple more in gas here. I also want to note that he isn't making probes now, and his natural is not yet saturated. Back in his main, he does have one fewer on gas here than he needs, and one more mining minerals than he needs, but simply shifting a probe over would fix this. This would be an ideal saturation here. However, he really, really needs to make probes. Right now, all he's producing is this speed upgrade for his warp prism. It's likely he's not making too many things since he's focused on this. The zealots he's making are going to focus up over here. You want to spread these out a little bit, although you should be able to... Yeah, there we go. should be able to take this down. You definitely want to focus on killing units rather than the supply depots. These tanks are going to do a lot of damage. Gonna go ahead and back out. Yes. Alright. Alright, cool. So he counter-dropped in a way. But you'll note that he's only just now making 5 stalkers at the front. And now he's not producing anything. Definitely needs to make probes. And needs to put more of them in gas. Needs to make another assimilator over here on this geyser. Needs to be producing out of his robotics facility. Needs to be producing out of these stargates. Needs to be just making more things. In fact, having watched maxbie, I would say that just making lots of things is probably going to be one of the big things that he could do to really help himself out going forward. This one zealot unable to fit. Stalker is left behind. However, these tanks are going to be here, and these Vikings are as well. maxbie making one thing out of his robo, but not making anything out of his stargates at the moment, because he's probably pretty focused on this. Going to drop everything off and try and warp things in, but these tanks are going to be able to take them out upon warp in, which is going to be a problem. Setting them down further behind the mineral line, near where his observer is, would do a lot more damage, and you definitely want to attack the mineral line to kill off these SCVs. It will very much hurt Raf's economy. That said, Raf, like maxbie, has 1 million minerals right now. maxbie should probably just expand. Still needs to build an assimilator on that geyser. Still needs to make probes. I have not seen probes made in a good long time. Even so, he has a good amount of money, but not so much gas. There we go. He's moving one more probe into gas there. Alright, we'll see if he builds that geyser. Still only has 2 in gas here. And because of that, he's really stunted on what he can do as far as production. He's going to go ahead and take a third at the 19-minute mark of the game, which is pretty late for a third expansion. He's going to get gas geysers up on that right quick, though, and he does finally notice this assimilator is missing here. Has 3 probes in gas now here. He's going to have to transfer all of his probes from his main, which is mined out, down to this natural expansion. He is going to take a 4th, which is actually a really great idea if you have 1,000 minerals like maxbie does. Building pylons, building assimilators, going to be able to spread those out all over. And now he's going to move out, and I don't know if that's a good idea. I'm actually going to pause. I know there's about to be a big fight. I know guys, it's okay, I just want to look at this. Army supply, heavily in favor of Raf. And to be quite honest, it sort of makes sense. He's been focusing on making things. If you look at his expansion, that's been saturated more so than maxbie's has been for a while. And he's just had time to make more stuff. maxbie has just spent all of this money in infrastructure and things that he needs, and could afford to add on more warp gates, could afford to do a lot more things so that he can produce units faster. And I think doing that and then going through a few rounds of warp-ins before he moves out would be advisable. A lot of times you do want to go ahead and do some attacking on top of an expansion, but I think given that he hasn't been spending his money for this long, and his army is this size, this is going to be a massacre. Which is really, really unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and see how it goes. On the bright side, stalkers are reasonably good against tanks, and a lot of this army is tanks. Also, none of these tanks are sieged yet, so we're going to see how this goes. Are we ready? Alright. Alright, here we go. Concave is favoring Raf a little bit here. Lots of units are dying. Guardian Shield does go up, which is going to help a little bit, but this army was just too big. maxbie loses a lot of his stuff. Having a mothership core, which I believe he had but got taken out, would have been really great as far as defending, because that could have photon overcharged and really helped. maxbie still doesn't have 3 mining gas here, and he hasn't moved too many probes over to his other expansions. And now we have this army coming on in. The army's a little afraid of the cannons, but there's no reason for them to be since they can just tank it up over here. 3 stalkers warping in. Really want to have more than 3 warp gates. And he's not producing out of these nearly regularly enough to justify having 2 star gates. Or even this robo, since he's only built a couple units out of there. So there's the GG. Definitely, as maxbie, if you have 1 base, what I want you to do is focus on... Oh look, he has 5 gateways. I was mistaken there. If you have 1 base, you want to go ahead and have about 3 gateways and another thing. It can be a gateway, it can be a robo, it can be a stargate. If you have 2 bases, you can have 3 more gateways and another thing. And if you have another thing, and it's not a gateway, you definitely need to produce units out of it to justify having it. Produce units all the time. Upgrades were gotten from this, so that was very good. Good on the upgrades. Expansions were taken, which was a good idea, but should have been done way earlier. Definitely don't want your money to get very high at the end of a warp-in. Your money should probably be below 400 minerals, or you should look at adding on more gateways or expanding. And ideally, the lower it can be at the end of a warp-in, and at the end of you queuing up a production via, say, your stargates or your robo, the better. So in any case, I hope this helped some of you. I enjoy casting these. If you would like me to analyze a replay, please go ahead and send me an email. Put replay analysis in the subject line. Send it to noobcrafted@gmail.com. And if you would just want me to cast a replay because it was silly, or because you had fun, or just because you liked it, go ahead and send it to that same email address. That's noobcrafted@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and have a good night.